Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Sal, Stretford Post. How you all doing? And welcome to another episode of Chatterbox, guys. I hope you're all doing well. I hope everyone's enjoyed their day today. It is a Wednesday afternoon for me. I don't know where you are in the world anyway, guys, but I am here in the Middle East and it is about 6 p.m. So, guys, forgive me if I'm a little bit drained. I've been running around all day long. Goodness me, it's been mad. It's been a mad one. And talking of a mad one, it's a mad one with Man United as well. Again, I mean, as soon as I turn on my social media, honest to God, I'm really feeling like quitting social media because every time I turn it on, there's a new bit of news coming out about Man United, about finances. Listen, I didn't pass the bar when it comes to finances. I didn't, I went to uni and I studied business, right? But I'm not good at maths. I don't know how that makes sense, but that is how it goes, guys. I'm not good at maths. And to be honest with you, I only can talk in dumb maths at the end of the day. But what I will do, I'm going to bring in a very special guest of mine. It is Dev Bajwa. Of course, Dev, you know what? He's going to explain it for you guys. I mean, in a far more articulate way, guys. Let me bring him in. Big up, Dev. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, man? You okay?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right. I just read some financial reports from the Glazers and how we would have been 15 million back down to our last 15 million. I mean, if it wasn't for INEOS buying out, investing 80 million in Manchester United. How damning is that, bro?
Well, it's damning, but I think people need to be damning of the right people. It's not like, if anything, it's just shown that INEOS in this PSR structure where all this stuff comes out 2 seasons ago, this isn't coming out. This isn't even news. No one really cares. But with PSR and then the Premier League trying to give their own version of FFP and then Forest and Everton becoming examples of it all, they're definitely trying to clamp down. They should have been doing it years ago, because it probably would have stopped the Glazers a while back rather than now. But yeah, it's damning, but it's damning of the Glazers. It's not damning of INEOS. They've come in and injected far more than the 80 million in cash. I mean, there's about 400 and something million, and because of FFP, everyone will talk about the Qataris and the Saudis until they're blue in the face. But the fact is, because of the books and where they are, there's only a certain number that you can actually give into the club and inject it as a sugar daddy owner. They're right on the limit of that, and they're probably a bit further, and they've used a few loopholes to get a bit more. So they've, in terms of that front, they've effectively, I know the cost cutting is horrible. I know the redundancies are there, but you got to think that we haven't got a proper data department. We haven't got a proper, a gym that's up to standard. We haven't got proper facilities. So it's why are there so many people in certain roles? You hear redundancies, we don't even know what department they're in. I'm not trying to advocate and say it's a good thing, but I've been made redundant 3 times. I know how much it hurts. And in this economy, I get it. But at the same time, it's a business and INEOS are business people. And we've been wanting this for about 10 or 15 years for business people to come in and do the good job and to bring in football people in the right football roles. And they're doing it, and it's really annoying. But yeah, it came out today because our financial reports for Q2 came out, and then or Q1, whatever it is, and they have basically said how much the Ten Hag sacking cost, how much the Ashworth sacking and hiring cost, and everyone's just losing their mind. But we're losing sight of who the main bloody who the main problem
exactly, because this has nothing to do with INEOS, by the way. Nothing to do with INEOS. INEOS have in fact saved us, so to speak, in regards to that, because we would have been down to our last 15 million if it wasn't for INEOS investing that money into the football club. We would have been come on, you can't even buy a player these days for 15 million. I mean, we're spending how much on wages a month? We would have been in big trouble, guys. Probably would have went into administration or deducted points, something like that. Do you know what I mean? So, we can't put everything on INEOS. And I've never done that. I don't think we should, because they have done really good things at the football club. In regards to this, I don't know why there was so much negativity around the transfer window in the summer. I thought they did pretty well in the transfer window in the summer. We spent 200 odd million. The only criticism I can give them is not buying a left back, but we've done that this January, of course. Of course, there was obviously the Eric Ten Hag situation as well. And me and you, we were staunch supporters of Eric Ten Hag. So I supported him all the way to the end. I never once said Ten Hag out, ball fraud and stuff like that. I've never once said that. And to be honest with you, we had to keep Eric Ten Hag at the time. And, we're all geniuses in hindsight at the end of the day. And that's what I would say. He won the FA Cup. He deserved the shot. And I said I want him until Halloween, and that's what we did at the end of the day. Speaking of Eric Ten Hag, Raphael Varane has come out and been speaking about Eric Ten Hag, about how his training methods and how he would fall out with certain players, and his man management was not very good, and he's very rigid in his style of football. What do you make of this, bro? What do you make of this, Dev? Because it's basically kicking a man while he's down and he's not there to defend himself. And you know, I actually felt that Eric Ten Hag was very patient with Raphael Varane. Look, you know what? It's easy to get Real Madrid and compare Man United to Real Madrid. You know, you can do that all day long, but you had the likes of Modric, you had Cruz with you, you know, you had serial winners in there. Man United are a completely different machine than what Real Madrid are. Yeah. Real Madrid are, you know, been for 100 years, been run like a boss, basically. You know, I mean, they know what they're doing. Man United haven't, you know, and that goes to show with the appointments of the managers, from Louis van Gaal to Jose Mourinho to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to Ralf Rangnick, all different styles of football, not a philosophy, not a plan, you know? Yeah. So what do you make of Raphael Varane's comments? Obviously, he's a legend as a player, but, you know, I mean, it's a bit cheap if you ask me.
I don't see the point in it. I don't know who's really advising some of these guys to come out and say certain things, because I don't know what they're getting out of it. Like none of these, like when it comes to exclusive and stuff, you can always say when it's just like one person who's not in the public eye going up against someone who is, like, you've always got the money argument, you've always got the clout argument, but Varane's like been there and done it. He's retired. And I don't think he's a vindictive guy and wants to single out Ten Hag. Absolutely not. It's just kind of, he's been asked the question and maybe feels like it's a bit safer now that Ten Hag's gone. Because if he said this while he was in post, God, that would be terrible. But it's annoying because everyone will always point to the horrible instances of things when they go bad. They forget that Ten Hag, like Mainu doesn't really come through without him. Garnacho doesn't come through without him. You got Rashford who hit his best season ever with him. You got Sancho who took 3 or 4 months paid leave and then for a mental health break and then came back worse. And Ten Hag was absolutely right in that. Cristiano Ronaldo's, I don't care who's the manager. If Ronaldo does an interview with Piers Morgan, he's gone. That's a disgrace what Ronaldo did. I don't care what his point was. He wanted to be the main man and to just have a bit of a laughing at our expense. Cristiano, you don't do that. Without us, there's no you. So I don't like what he's done with any of these. And Varane was his comments were a bit more tame. I think people have pulled it out of proportion when he talked about Wembley and said you know, how Ten Hag really like looked after himself and how he made sure that his fitness and everything was right for the FA Cup final, and he did look out for him massively. But also, Varane was incredibly well paid, and in terms of the return that he gave, I don't think any of them are in a position to start giving it liberties, because unless you're one of the key performers, which you weren't, like Varane was good, but from a player like Varane, I expected more. He had injury problems, of course he did, but you were good. You weren't exceptional. You weren't great. I won't look back at you and think you were one of the best players that we had, or even for a short period of time you gave us something special. I'll think that about Zlatan. I even think certain things about Pogba at certain times, or certain things about Lukaku and what they had to go through, but I don't feel that way about Varane. So for him to come out and say that is a bit sad, and I think he's in that sort of ether of ex-players talking about their previous clubs. He's probably seeing what people are saying and not jumping on the bandwagon, because he's come with a bit of a fresh perspective. And like I say, I don't think what he said was too damning, but you know what the club's been in. You're a smart guy. You're not an idiot. And whoever's informing you to say, yeah, this is a good idea to get yourself back out there, like in what way? Who? Because I don't know what employer now looks at Varane in a different way and thinks, oh, this is someone we want to take in the next part of his career. But I also don't see what anyone close to Varane will think. Yeah, if you say this about Ten Hag now, when no one's even talking about him, then it's a good thing to do. It didn't make sense. But in terms of what he actually said, I'm not too overawed by it, because we all kind of knew that Ten Hag was a bit of an aloof character, like a typically Dutch character, for want of a better explanation. But that's who cares? Like I don't mind that. And you know, I'll be interested to see what Arne Slot does next season when the cracks begin to show, because even this season, in a great one, when the cracks show, he says a lot of things, and Ten Hag had to deal with a lot of cracks. So yeah, I think the one thing is, like, Ten Hag might have been aloof, he was quite calm, but these little instances, they happen at every football club. It just doesn't get talked about. Like that it always constantly happens. But Manchester United have now the overlap where Gary Neville only talks about us, and like they always have a section on Man United. No matter what happens, it's always about us, not Chelsea, not Liverpool. Liverpool doing great, yeah, but not Chelsea, not Liverpool, not City with their charges. It's always us, and it's just I think people need to peel it back and say, all right, who's saying these things? Why are they saying it? What's their situation? And rather than just taking it as fact, because Ten Hag will have his version of things, and it might agree with Varane, but it'll give a different perspective, which is what I think we're lacking, and people do need to just calm down a bit. But from Varane, does it make me look at him differently? A little bit. I'm not really like when he was here, I just thought, yeah, good player, you did what you could do, and you left on a bit of a high. Why try and ruin it? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all.
It doesn't, especially if he only played about 30% of games as well. He wasn't there every single week, and he was getting an astronomical amount of wages as well. And Erik ten Hag showed enormous amounts of patience with Rafael Varane as well, as he did with many other players, as you said, about Jadon Sancho, the 4 months off work. I mean, I cannot fathom how anyone can just ignore that. I mean, you just had 4 months off work paid, when we needed you, it weren't like, oh, we got a big squad. Do you know what I mean? And you went off, you had 4 months off work, and then you're writing messages on Instagram posts and stuff about freedom. Yeah. For goodness me, give me some of that freedom. Honestly, you know what I mean? Because that seems like very good freedom to me.
Yeah, I think everyone's now looked at the Sancho thing and thought because I think when he came, like he had a few bright games, and even that season before he had the break, he had a few bright games. And when he came back, I think he might have scored twice. I remember he scored on his reintroduction against Leeds, was it in the cup, and then he did all right against Leicester and a few teams, and he had that one goal against Liverpool. But it's like, what's the it wouldn't. Now he's gone and done the exact same thing as what he did for us, but at Chelsea. So yeah, I have no sympathy towards him, but I kind of I was very, very because I try my best to be level-headed and non-toxic. I always try and say that, and I still maintain that. But Sancho was the one player where I definitely went too far at times. So I thought, what, he's gone now. Let's just let the chip fall where they may. Didn't say anything when he was playing well. I was just like, let's just leave it, see what happens. And now when the wheels fall off, that's happened. And the best players, when the going gets tough, they get going. Like Bruno, he always gets going, no matter what. He might not put in performances all the time, but his stats back up that he's one of our best players, and he definitely is. But he takes games by the scruff of the neck and tries to effect change. Like players like Sancho don't. And we've had it's not just him. We've had too many of those passengers that, because of the way we've been run, not by INEOS but by the Glazers, who have done everything wrong. Then it sort of led to this culture, which. Varane, he wouldn't have contributed much on the pitch. Obviously, he had to retire when he went to Como. He wouldn't have contributed much. And, we said this as well before, but I think INEOS had a really good window. I think some of these players are good. All of them are good players. I doubt to say that they're bad. I don't think any of the deals were bad. I think the money was spent well. I think it was structured properly. I think the profile was good. I don't have a problem with it. Yeah, it doesn't suit this manager and the Ten Hag situation. You mentioned a good point. Everyone is an expert in hindsight. They all are. But the reason I said stick with Ten Hag is because I thought at the time, and I still think this now, it would only take a little dip in the season, which is bound to happen when you make so many changes at once. It only takes a dip for people to then be like, God, they've sacked the manager who bought you an FA Cup with 75 plus injury cases, and he never got backed in the window, much like this guy. Ten Hag deserved a window. In my opinion, everything that Ten Hag did, he deserved that window. I think he deserved a shot to do it. Didn't work out, fine. But had we been run properly or run even better, 30% better than the past 15 years, then these little misdemeanors, these misfires wouldn't have been as impactful as they appear to be now financially. We wouldn't care about losing 10 mil on Ashworth or 14 and a half with him and Ten Hag. No one would have cared because that's nothing to Manchester United. But under the Glazers, it is, and INEOS are shouldering all of the burden because they're now in control. But I think the only way I look at INEOS, my last kind of point on them before we move on, but it's with them, I always liken it to, imagine you've just got a guy who's been, eating burgers and chips all their life and then goes to the gym, state of the art, it's beautiful, has an amazing session with a PT, and then they look in the mirror and expect a six-pack. You're not going to get there. Doesn't matter what your diet is on that day or what it is, the damage has been done. So you have to now go back and fix that. And also, like, I've done this myself. I was a big kid and then I had to like lose a lot of weight. And I remember my first few journeys, I had to like go on runs and I threw up and I felt sick and I felt horrible. I felt way worse doing the good things than I did the bad. We're in that position now, but we're doing the right thing. So I just think everyone just needs to calm down. We know who the enemies are. We've actually got people who have protected us from them and we don't have to talk about them anymore. But the way they run the club is where we are now. They're not doing the sporting side of it. The commercial side will continue to thrive. And you know what? I've always said, if Man United are fine and they pocket their change, I don't care. I don't think anyone really cares about that. Even if it's a leverage buy or whatever, if we're doing well and you're putting the right people in place, who cares? You've actually got some really good people at the club now. And I know it's not immediate change, but like I just said, you can't expect that all to happen overnight. So I'm still not positive for the season. The season's a write-off because of everything that's happened, but I'm very positive going forward because this is the change we've wanted. And I expected about a 2 or 3 year bedding in period, and we're only 14 months in. So I just think people need to calm down a little bit.
I think we do, yeah. But I think people just they lack the patience. I don't know. It's this generation. I'm not sure, but people they don't have the. I mean, I've seen people talking about Ruben Amorim, sacking Ruben Amorim. If he doesn't win anything this season, if he comes 15th, we should sack him, and that's it.
Brilliant.
You know, I heard you mention, because I saw your interview, by the way, on United View, and you made a very good point about a plant, a seed, you know, and you can't shout at a plant and tell it to grow. You can't scream, no matter how much you scream and shout at that plant, it's not going to grow. You know, you got to nurture it. You got to put it in the sunshine, put some water over it, you know, and be patient. So people don't want that. So whenever the plant starts to grow, we cut it, and we start again. You know, and that's what we're doing at the moment. And people don't quite understand the benefit of patience and the benefit of looking at the rewards in patience. We're not Real Madrid. People need to get that their head. We're not Real Madrid. You know, we don't have Lamine Yamal. Every player is getting compared to Lamine Yamal. You know, players like Garnacho. But Lamine Yamal was doing it at that age. David Beckham was on loan at Preston North End at 20 years old. So at the end of the day, let's not talk about that. Everyone has their own journey. Everyone, you know, grows in a different way. You can't tell Peter Crouch to become Ronaldinho. It's not going to happen. They're different players at the end of the day. And I think if we do end up sacking this manager due to the pressure of external pressure and obviously INEOS, I just don't think we're going to get anyone. We're just going to go that way, in my opinion. I don't think we're going to. It's going to be a road to nowhere. And damn if you do, damn if you don't. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, exactly what you're saying with INEOS at the end of the day. But
exactly. It's complete nonsense as well, because I think it was Terry at the Football Terrace who ended up saying that. I couldn't think of who it was at the time, but I just think that's the best quote to describe like where we are. But the seed has been planted, and it's really annoying that you can't see it because it's just soil and it's dirt, and you can't picture what's going to happen at the end of it. But also, a well-run Manchester United is the scariest proposition on planet Earth when it comes to football. Maybe Real Madrid are ahead of us, but they are the greatest team in the world. I have no problems, you know, being compared to them in terms of stature. But like, it's just stupid. And we've got such good bones in there now, but like this open heart surgery comment that keeps on coming out, it's like the problem with that is we've had open heart surgery when Ralf Rangnick said it, and by the way, everyone wants to think he's a messiah. He was only on a 6-month contract. He said he didn't want part-time footballers, and then he accepted the Austria job thinking he could do us part-time. I don't like agree with most of the things that come out after that in terms of his, like, you know, wanting for the cause of United. But that phrase, I mean, we did open heart surgery, we did it on the wrong part of the body and like because the surgeons that we said to do it, we got the cheapest versions and who didn't know what they were doing. But now
people were just looking at that and thinking players. He wasn't just talking about the players. He was talking about the whole football club, the structure, football club, the training ground. We ain't got a swimming pool, things like that. Do you know what I mean? We got and people just looking at, oh, you know, we need to sell that player. We need to sell that player. It's not going to work. It's like having a polluted pond, putting a brand new fish. Oh, is there a brand new fish? A fish into the pond. It's going to get sick, isn't it? No matter if you clean it, you put it back in the pond, it's going to get sick again. And that is what's happening with the players at the moment, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I know nobody wants to hear it, but I just do think INEOS are doing a good job overall. I'm not happy with the cuts. I'm not happy with anything. But if we were run properly for the last 10 or 15 years, there'd be no cuts. There'd be no like frivolous spending. There'd be none of that. There'd be no looking at pure profit. There'd be none of it. So and I would hazard a guess that had INEOS themselves took us over in 2005, we'd be in a pretty damn good position. And I'm sorry, like I can't. It's so annoying when people lump INEOS and the Glazers in the same thing. I mean, you just talked about the injection of cash that have come in. That makes them £80 million better than the Glazers immediately. And also, like, I think there needs to be. I need to look into this more to see if this is an actual course of action. But I remember when Abramovich got lumped out of Chelsea, obviously for a very different reason with the war and his ties and all that. It was never clear publicly what those ties were. I'm assuming it was quite substantial in order to get him out of the football club. But that was someone who brought a lot of money into them, transformed Chelsea, and they became a juggernaut after that. They were nothing before him, really, on a competition scale anyway. But how these parasitic Americans have come in and have said, we want Manchester United, we're just going to take it. We're going to then leverage a buyout from the banks, which is illegal now. You're not allowed to. So my thing has always been like, if it's illegal now, surely you could retrospectively go back and say, let's see, you've done something illegal. The rules were different then, but how have you now, tried to remedy that action? And you can't. And we haven't had a sporting director until this year. We got rid of one, obviously, because it didn't work out. But these little misfires, at least INEOS are trying. And if they are going to misfire, a 10 or 15 million pounds misfire doesn't matter in the grand course of things. But because of the way that they've done it, we are where we are. And the debt has gone over £1 billion with player fees as well. And INEOS, no matter what you're saying about them, they wouldn't have spent 80 million on Anthony or 70 million on Casemiro or any of these players. And even Varane, I think, was quite expensive at the time. So it boggles my mind that people are going off at the wrong people. I don't get it. And if you are those people, you want to say the Qataris and all this, like, please don't listen to me. Listen to Kieran Maguire, one of the best financial experts in football at the minute, and who did a brilliant piece on The Guardian recently, which says, how can a club make a profit and a loss at the same time? That's exactly what we're doing, because balancing the books are plural. You have to balance them in different ways. Making a cut here doesn't necessarily mean you make a profit there. And so everyone's equating the Dan Ashworth cost on the playing side to head office changes. It doesn't normally work like that. The taxes are different and everything is different. You don't get a payout if you lose your job like he did with a few years on your contract. You just leave. You're made redundant. Maybe you get a small bonus because of your time served. It's a completely different thing. So it just boggles my mind. So today, I mean, we did this literally an hour after we're doing this, an hour after they released the reviews and stuff. But yeah, it's the best and worst thing that everything about United is public, because it's clear what the problem is and what the problems have been. People just don't want to admit that the problems have been there for so long. And to your point about the lack of patience, like I can understand why, because the term rebuild has been used wrong. Like, it's been used with the Glazers still there, with different managers, with different things, but the people making the decisions were always the same. So how can you have a rebuild when the key people are the same? Like, a new business would not say we're going through a rebrand or restructure if the exact same people are making different decisions. It doesn't work like that. So now we have a new sporting directorship. The rebuild started 14 months ago, and this is what it looks like. They've made some bad decisions, but they're making decisions. They're actually acting, and they care, and they want us to be a success. I'm not dumb. They're business people. If we're successful, Man United makes loads of money. They get loads of money as well. But I don't care. Make your money. Martin Edwards made money. David Gill made money. Sir Alex is still making money. Obviously, they cut his ambassador role, but he doesn't need millions of pounds a year. He's made his money. He's fine. But people just don't understand when the rebuild started. I think that's what people are getting mixed up.
Yeah, I think in regards to Alex Ferguson, that they're good anyway. They're millionaires, multi-millionaires. They're not going to struggle at all. People are acting like they're, they're poor and they've got no money, they're unemployed, and they're, and things like that. They've got money, they're good. They still go to. I've seen Alex Ferguson at games.
Yeah, there's still an recently as well.
He's not been told you can't come to Man United anymore. That's it. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, look, you know what? Sometimes I feel like we get a little bit burdened by our past rather than inspired by our past. And, in regards to Alex Ferguson, it's something similar because, I do believe that Alex Ferguson does represent a burden. Not I love him, right? But I feel like there's a huge pressure around Alex Ferguson because when he's sitting in the stadium, and you think about what he's watching on the pitch and what he's witnessed as a manager, it can be quite, difficult for those players to like pick themselves up and, some of them are getting burdened by that. But I mean, I wanted to bring it into 2005. if Ineos took charge of Manchester United in 2005, where Manchester United would be right now, because we were very self-sustainable then. You know, we made our own money organically. We were rich. We could have bought anyone we wanted to be honest with you. Can you imagine we had an ownership like them, like Ineos back then, right now, where we would be right now? But honestly, we have been 20 years been run badly. You know, the Glazers got a loan out and used, I mean, I'm no expert, but they used the profits of the club to pay that loan and didn't pay a penny of their own money, something like that, roughly. And they haven't paid money since then on the club. Finally, we do have someone who spent some money. We do. We haven't spent it well, but that is going to happen. To be honest with you, you're going to make mistakes. Yeah, that's life. You know, that's business. At the end of the day, you know, I was in the music industry 20 years, and you'll make a song, you spend thousands on promoting it and stuff, and it doesn't work. It's a dud at the end of the day. And you think, oh, well, learn from that, we move on, and we learn from our mistakes, etc. The biggest concern for me is nowadays with Ruben Amorim and the players who are starting to plant the seed on turning against Ruben Amorim with the style of play malarkey that's going on. Do you think that whoever that player is, I don't know. It's Chris Wheeler in the Times. I don't know if he's telling the truth. I don't know. I wouldn't speculate. But these kind of rumors have been circulating for many years now. And I'm getting a little bit concerned by it, because it's the same kind of rumors that were spread with Erik ten Hag as well. And they can't play in his system. They don't like going home in the dark, you know, things like that. Do you know what I mean? And what do you make of these rumors, these sinister rumors that are coming out of the football club? I mean, conveniently that we're losing now, and then, oh, we can't play the tactics, let's blame the manager. What do you think about that?
You're saying that the right word. The right word is just like, it's too convenient. I just don't buy it. I don't buy it. Like it doesn't, like, me being, I could be naive and saying I don't buy it, but I think people could also be naive and saying they believe it. There's none of that, but you have to just hear it direct from the horse's mouth. You have to see what the players are doing and see how they're performing on the pitch and stuff. And what I can say is that the players look leggy. They definitely look knackered. And in the, you know, in a 9-day spell when Ruben Amorim's got time to work with you finally, after like your longest spell, 4 injuries is a terrible look. And I have to look at the coaching staff and say, what the hell are you doing? But at the same time, does that mean it's a massive step up from what they were doing before? And is a mix of the weather or just a knock in training? Anything could happen. I mean, Kai Havertz tore a hamstring in Dubai. Like, things can just happen, and maybe it could be luck. You just don't know. But the thing that I would stress with this is Ruben Amorim has come in with the blueprint of a system that was the best in Europe. Like, it beat the best in Europe. So, you know, I doubt that when Ten Hag was sacked, the things that we wanted is exactly what Ruben Amorim's bringing in. We wanted a strong leader. We wanted someone to say the right things as well, like have the charisma, say the right things, which he's got. But just dig your feet in against certain players, which he's done. It's an awful timing that, you know, you don't get enough money really to bring in another attacking option, which before the window, when we still had Ahmad and we still had like a couple of other young players to fill that gap, then you think, could that last you for a few months? You'd hope that. And I hate to be the bearer of, like, you know, I sound old when I say this, but I'm like, 3 months worth of football, you should all be ready. You're all young. You're all like elite level sports people. You should be able to play football for 3 months without breaking something. Things can happen. Like, Martinez tearing his ACL, it's not his fault. It wasn't the best way to go into a challenge, really, and he's been doing it a lot and playing with fire, but not his fault. But with elite level people, do you expect 4 top professionals to play 3 roles over the course of 3 months? I do. I personally do. So I'm not and with the young players coming in, like, can they fill a void and stuff? Like, I do expect that it was either not be sure on an option now, but if you knew Anthony was going, you knew Rashford was going, then maybe you should have done something. So all of these different things are coming out, and it's just too convenient, because the things that we're hearing from the Times and from like big people is the stuff that we'd hear down the pub. Like, oh, maybe this has happened, maybe that's happened, without anything substantiating it further, but this veil of exclusivity with the words dressing room source. Goldbridge says he's got a dressing room source now, and I'm like, well, and even that just kind of makes me think, mate, you're trying to say that you're not a harmful platform. Why are you saying why would you say there's a dressing room source for one? And you've said it multiple times. I don't know why you would say it. Why do you have one?
We know who it is though, don't we?
Yeah, but then also, why do you have one? And whoever that one is, like, I'd love to know what you could have a source. They might not even say anything, or you could blow it well out of proportion. Like if I knew one of the lads and I just called them up, said, how's things going? They're not going to be 15th in the league saying, yeah, everything's amazing. And I do think it's just being pulled way too much out of proportion, because it's never a direct quote from someone we know. It's a quote that's Chinese whispered its way through someone else, which I just completely don't agree with. So anyone who thinks that Amorim is the problem, yeah, you don't really understand what's going on at Manchester United. And we've sunk further than we expected to due to circumstance a lot of the time. Like, these players aren't ready to suit a system, and we're doing it all at once. But Arsenal did it, Liverpool did it at one time, Chelsea had to do it, Man City obviously had to do it under probably an illegal way, but we've all had to do it. But because of how badly we've been run, this is just a reflection of all of that. So I think people are actually seeing now how bad we are, but nothing to do with it. Like, the manager, I think we said to Ten Hag when he used to play Johnny Evans all the time, and he forgot how to play football and forgot how to press from the front, but we got results. Everyone was like, why have you abandoned your playing style? So now you want him to abandon his because we're not getting results? Choose what you want. He's given me what I want on paper. We're not getting on the pitch, but over time, I think that'll stand him in good stead. Staying strong now, I think it will stand him in a good light.
Do you have a little bit of concerns about the players though? Because they've proven under Ten Hag and Ruben Amorim that they can do it against the likes of Liverpool, against Arsenal, against Man City in the FA Cup final, as you said, in the league this season. Go toe-to-toe with Liverpool, should have won the game in reality with 10 men, beat Arsenal, and the referee against us as well. Do you have a little bit of concern about the mentality of the players? Because the likes of Bournemouth, Wolves, Crystal Palace, we can't seem to beat those teams. And every time we play a team like that at Old Trafford, you're like, if they score first, we're losing this game. Mm-hmm. And that's what it is. And I don't quite understand it, because we can go toe-to-toe. I actually feel more confident if we were drawn against Arsenal than if we were drawn against the likes of Everton or Ipswich or something like that. And I'm dreading the league at the moment. I don't think we're going to get relegated. I think that's sensationalist rubbish that people want to just...
We'll be close, though. Yeah. I think we'll be quite close to it, but...
We'll be close. I think what's going to happen is that when it gets down to about 5 points, I think we're going to start to panic. Should Ruben Amorim change his tactics? In that scenario, would you expect him to change his tactics if it's not working up until that point? Just to survive and get out of that mess. Because you know what? I mean, it does look quite treacherous, because we have got Liverpool. Who have we got? We got Man City, haven't we? We got them. We got Everton away as well. Goodness me. I think we got Ipswich after that. I think so. And Ipswich in our mugs as well.
But the thing is, if we beat Everton, and I know it's not the best time to go, and it's the last game at Goodison Park and all that, but I remember last season we had injury problems like up our everywhere, and I think we started mainly that game because of injuries and stuff. But I remember we were going there, I think the day after they heard about their points deduction. And then everyone thought that'd be the worst atmosphere to go, and we popped them 3-0, and it wasn't a problem. So we're capable of that, and we're capable of those sorts of results, because we do have some individual quality in the team. Like, of course we do. Man for man, we're better than Everton. I'm sick of people saying we're not. We just are. We're better than these teams, man for man. They're set up better, and they're together a lot more, and they fight better, and they're probably fitter. Like, that's the crux of it. But no, I think with the team that we're playing now, it's completely alien to the team that we were playing last year. Like, the whole defense is different. The goalkeeper is still the same, still making the same mistakes. Like, you have a new defensive line and you got a goalkeeper you can't trust. Problems always.
Yeah, I mean, it starts on a goalkeeper, doesn't it? I mean, I don't trust him. I get anxiety when I see Onana play. Yeah. He's always liable to make a mistake. He might make a fantastic save, right? But, every game you can say that Onana should have done better. And that's what we say, whether he's to blame or not. Even the goal, I think it was against Crystal Palace when it came off the bar and it went to the player and he tapped it in. Where's his hand? He should have tipped that over the bar. Why is it hitting the bar? You know what I mean? And things like that. And, we do need someone a little bit more efficient in goal. Man United notoriously throughout history have had goalkeepers who are demanding. You know, I mean, how'd you say it? They dominate their area. They're big. They're big units. Van der Sar, Schmeichel, and selling Van and De Gea was. I mean, maybe he needed to go. Maybe I wouldn't have sold him. He wouldn't have been the first one to go for me. It would have been the players first. But
he was on a lot of money.
Onana was the wrong choice, and we have to give the blame to obviously Ten Hag. But Ten Hag was trying to do something, change Manchester United, and not to be honest with you, Onana had a great season for Inter Milan, got them to the Champions League final. On paper, I just feel like Man United are a cesspit of negativity, and when players go into that football club, the shirt is heavy. I guarantee you, Onana will leave, and he will absolutely kill it wherever he goes, or any other player will leave, and they absolutely kill it. Just like they're talking about Rashford now, it's like clockwork, isn't it? Just like they're talking about Anthony with his few goals, you know. I have an argument in regards to that because I just feel like Anthony suits the La Liga better than he suits the Premier League.
But
and
even with that, like Rashford, he's done a few nutmegs, which he will do for us, and he nearly made a goal. Really good free kick, but again, none of it went in. None of it's done. Like he's done good little glimpses. Watching the whole game, he's still kind of similar to what he's been doing with us, but he's in a system that accounts for it. Like we ain't got runners like Morgan Rogers or John McGinn who can just work for you. We don't have that, so he'll thrive, but he'll thrive in a system catered to him. Like we weren't. So, but it's one of them. But I think with Onana and De Gea, I love De Gea. De Gea for me, like obviously I saw Van der Sar and stuff, but in terms of shot stopping, I think De Gea was the best shot stopper I'd personally seen. I never really saw Schmeichel, but De Gea was outstanding. But everywhere else, he was struggling. Like he couldn't really kick a ball that well. There's a lot of goals that he let through that you think no goalkeeper should be letting in, but also loads of goals that he saved, and you think how can a goalkeeper save them? So he definitely had a mistake in him, and he was going like that, and his wages were stupid. So you think, you have to part ways and do it in the right way, and no other club came in for him for a year. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not saying it's bad on him, but there was rhyme to the reason, and I think Onana on paper was great, but he isn't. And like I was saying before, I think you have an unstable goalkeeper at best, an unstable back three at best. But when the back three actually work, they tend to work quite well, because I don't think Maguire is bad in that system. We know he's quite good in that system, actually. I don't think De Ligt is a bad centre-back. I don't care what anyone says. I just don't. I think Yoro was a good acquisition. I think Mazraoui's good at right centre-back. Martinez, obviously, was starting to thrive. He had 2 assists and a goal against Liverpool and City, and there was one more at Rangers as well. And then you've got like Aiden Heaven. We'll see how he gets on like when he's there. But we actually had a decent like formation there. But Ahmad is playing more games than ever. And then you got Dorgu now coming in. You got Ugarte and Collier, or Ugarte and Bruno, completely different. 2 cams in like potentially Garner and Xerxes, and then Hoyle is completely different. So I think there's an element of there's no confidence, because I think it was someone on the overlap. I forgot his name now. It's someone on Twitter who's part of the overlap breakdown who he said, there's fundamental areas where if we do these little tweaks, it will work, even with these players, because the quality in the players. I'm sorry, I don't subscribe to the idea that De Ligt is a bad player, or Yoro, or Ugarte, or Dorgu, or Ahmad obviously was brilliant, but Mazraoui or Dallo, questionable, average, I'd say, bad in some areas. But
I just think he's not a wing back. I just don't think he's a wing back.
No, but what I'm saying is like these sorts of things is, if these 3 centre backs step up and they're more aggressive, it works. If the wing backs are aggressive and they get forward, like Dorgu and Garnacho was against Spurs, really good example of that. And if the striker can make runs in the channel like Højlund started to do, you fix so many problems with the same personnel that's there. So I would much rather see these little tweaks come in and take those risks rather than being more conservative and not taking any risks. So I'd rather you take risks with the formation you've got rather than everything of like losing the system. I don't think it works. I don't understand that.
Yeah, exactly. And in regards to the goalkeeper, a team like Man City can make a mistake. And when we think about Peter Schmeichel, when he left Manchester United, Alex Ferguson didn't get it right straight away. I mean, he brought in a number of Tim Howard, Carroll, and Barthez. Taibbi, and and after a few games, how much did Taibbi cost? He cost a lot of money back then, and we had to ship him out straight away. You know what I mean? And we can't afford that. Man City can. They got a number of goalkeepers. They got Bravo in, didn't they? Before they got the goalkeeper who was theirs, and we can't afford to do that. We can't do a Man City, and keep changing till you get it right. You know what I mean? It's like having Championship Manager or Football Manager and just buying the players and stuff like. We can't do that. We have to get it right there and then. Because I'm sure that if Ruben Amorim had his choice, he would get rid of Onana. I don't think he's happy with Onana.
Yeah, no, I agree. But also,
I don't believe that.
But you know what you said about the goalkeepers that we've had before? Like, they're all worse than Onana. They're not. Roy Carroll is not a good goalkeeper. We got him from Wigan.
I remember that one against Tottenham when he led.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but he was not a good goal. We got him from Wigan. Like you don't see that anymore. We got a goalkeeper from Wigan and tried to make him Man United. No, Van der Gaal was average at best. Like average.
He was a backup goalkeeper. He was just a spot start.
But then he wasn't that good. Like Bartes had one really good season. And then he just went on a tear and tried to like overly do too much the next. And he was probably the similar mold to Onana in that he always had a bit of chaos, but he could pull out a great save and was really good with his feet. But like he was just scary to watch. Tim Howard had one good season again. 2 seasons of poor performance. Ben Foster, I think he had a few games, but he was never at that quality. Kuszczak, probably the worst goalkeeper I've seen, and he played a good amount of games for United. And then we had Van der Sar, and then we had De Gea, and then we even have Victor Valdez, who didn't do much, and he's a Champions League winning goalkeeper. So there's all these different things, but yeah, I think the goalkeeping issue is a massive one because I think a stable goalkeeper fixes everything. It fixes your defense, like because the problem that you get is with Lisandro Martinez as an example, and this is very semantic, but he dives into challenges because of who he is. I think that is just a style. Like Rojo did it, who is, God, the amount of revisionism I'm seeing like people missing Rojo. I'm like, God, watch him again, and please tell me what you see. People missing Smalling over De Ligt. It's just stupid. But all of the. But
it's like clockwork. It's like clockwork. They're missing Rashford now, isn't it? Just a few weeks ago, it was like, oh, Rashford this, Rashford that. Need to get rid of him. As soon as he goes, it's like, oh, see, you know what I mean? It's Man United are the problem. You know what I mean?
But you know the point I was trying to make, like the defenders tend to do, and I've seen it a couple of times, but they tend to do Hail Mary type challenges because they probably know they're one-on-one with Onana. This is me making it up. This is me just basing it off of what I'm seeing, but I don't see you doing that when you got Van der Sar behind you. I think there's a level of calmness that you bring. And Onana, what's really annoyed me is that I saw him at Inter. I looked at his shot stopping and I thought it's a pretty average reel. I wanted there you go. I wanted Mike Maignan as an example, like over him, but Maignan isn't that stable either. People are looking at Zion Suzuki at Parma. I'm like, because he made one good save recently. I'm like, absolutely not. But with him, it was. I wanted him to be better at the things that David De Gea couldn't do. So if you are kind of an okay shot stopper, a good shot stopper, because he is good at times, then fine, I can live with that. Don't pull off Hail Mary saves because hopefully you won't be in a position to do that as often. But David De Gea couldn't claim crosses. David De Gea couldn't stretch defenses. He could not. Everyone closed him down every time. His passing accuracy was terrible and his throwing was all right, but everything else was awful. Onana gets the freedom of his whole 18-yard box, and that should open up a lot of opportunities, but it just isn't. So it's a shame, but I think it was a worthy chance. Like we should have given it a chance. It's not worked, and it is what it is. But like you say, I mean, like minus the success, if we were just to look at finances and everything, Fergie could do the Barteses and the Carrolls and the Howards and just have a bit of a punt, Taibbi, have a punt and fail and be allowed that time. But we don't have that luxury anymore. So yeah, it is what it is. But I struggle I can't deal with people who, you can talk to me about most of our ex-players in the last 15 years. The current crop of players, that player for player that we've got, a lot of them are better. They are better. And I can't get into an argument with people online when they start bringing up the likes of Fred over Ugarte. Goodness me, I love Fred. I really like Fred. As a man, I thought he was great, but they're not even in the same league. And Casemiro from a year ago to now, it's like if Casemiro's gone, we probably bring in an extra 3 or 4 players probably if he's gone. And someone said this to me on the United View, actually. I think we had this little debate where I'm of the opinion that obviously you had, back in our day, we used to sign the Dwight Yorks and the Andy Coles and the Rudes and on all that. Varane, some worked, some didn't. But I also tend to remember like Ji-Sung Park from PSV when you're looking at Michael Essien in the same game, or Mikhail Silvestri, which put in a good shift, but he was at Inter Milan at the time. Evra at Monaco, who did all right in the Champions League, but flopped in the final. Vidic from Spartak Moscow when you tried to get him at Red Star. I remember these sorts of transfers as the ones that actually built a proper foundation there. And you can give me like for the price of one Casemiro, wages wise and fee, really, if you were to clump it all together, you probably get about 6 or 7 Dorgus out of that. And I want 6 or 7 Dorgus. I don't want a Casemiro ever again. Really good guy, great player in his time. Gave us a really, really, really good season where we're comparing him to Rice and Partey at the time. But his legs have gone. That happens. It's happened with Sterling now. It happens with really great players. It's happened with him. But I don't want... If I go through the next few windows and I've not heard of a single player's name, I don't care. As long as it's profiled by the manager and the team to get it right. And Dorgu, if it doesn't work out, and I know this is a horrible way to look at it, 25 million quid, he's 20 years old, 40k, sell him. Like Malacia hasn't worked out. There's an obligation to buy. There's an option to buy him for PSV when we've got rid of him now. It'll be a €5 million loss. But then without the wages that we'd have to pay otherwise, we broke even. And he was out for a year. So it's like we're being smarter, and I'm tired of the people who just think, spend this money on this player, it'll work. Bringing Gyökeres into this environment won't fix anything. We need more Dorgus in the team is one of the best ways I can look at it.
We need a chemistry. We need a chemistry in that side. We got no chemistry at all. No. And a bit like what Alex Ferguson used to do. If you look at Alex Ferguson, the way he built sides is very similar all the way through. You know, whether it was Dwight York, he would have in that false number 9 position, or it's Berbatov, or it's Teddy Sheringham. He would still have that same type of formation and same. He had the spine and the basis of the team already, so he could risk bringing in a Butner. And players like that, and it doesn't work. And, it doesn't work. Let's get him out. Kagawa and players like that, and it doesn't work. Let's get him out. Bring another one in, and he could do that because he had the time to build that. He had the time to build that structure, and that's what Ruben Amorim has to do as well. Dorgu might not work. It might end up being the best signing in the last 20 years. Who knows? But our best signing. You made a good point.
Yeah, I'm excited by it, and I think like with the sorry to cut you off. I think the one point I wanted to make was the about this formation thing. It's new, and I get that there's 2 ways it could go. Either it's new and it flops forever and it just doesn't work in the Premier League, cool. Or we're at the forefront of doing a massive change in like a sea change in Premier League like tactics. Like we could be one of the ones that pioneer this Amorim system. Obviously 3 at the back is like, it's been done. Like Glenn Hoddle did 3 at the back with England. It's not new. But in the Premier League era, it'd be pretty new to keep doing it week in, week out for a big club, especially. Like all these other clubs, like Bournemouth have done it. I know Newcastle had tried it. With respect to them, they're allowed to, because if they get pumped 7-0 by Nottingham Forest, it doesn't matter. Like, it's kind of is what it is. Brighton, obviously. But we'd be one of the first big clubs to be like, this is our identity and we need to suit it. I don't like this era of football where it is cogs to fit a system. I do like individuality. I do like it, but the last 10 years has proven individuality isn't enough. And if we've got that system, and I've seen how it works with Sporting, the back line is a system that you do your job. You make sure that everything's done properly. Midfield is a system. You do your bloody job and you get the rest going. But the cams and the striker, go. Freedom. There's a lot of freedom in that. Because Human was great at it. And obviously Gyökeres was great. And Quenda, who we'll get to, he's brilliant at it. So no, I think like I'd rather suffer now. Weed out who's actually ready for this rebuild and who's ready to knuckle down and be a part of it. Because I do dread games, of course, like because you think how bad can it really get? But I'm still a Man United fan. I still get excited about every single game. I love the club. I love everything about it. And because now I feel like and in the last few years, really, I back Ten Hag because I want to say, I get what you're trying to do. I get the situation you're in. Let's go. We're in this together now. Rude for the few games he was here, just because I love Rude, favorite player ever. Amazing, you're back. And then with Amorim, you were dealt a terrible hand, the worst hand that's been dealt with any manager since Sir Alex Ferguson. And I'm just there like, you know what? You're here for us. You're here because you want to change us. You're here because you want to be a part of it. You've left an amazing structure and situation at Sporting for a now or never situation at Manchester United. You're in this for the long haul. You want this. And in the summer, I think it's going to be an incredible summer because on finances and stuff, like getting Rashford off the books for 6 months, 300 grand a week, basically, like of how much they're going to be paying is stupid. That's incredible to get him off the books for that amount of money. And also to get Sancho off, where if they do end up buying him for 25 million quid, because of how much money he would have been on during the duration of his contract and how much has actually been invested, actually gone out and aren't owed, we'd break even on him. I don't know how it works, but Kieran Maguire said we break even, or not Kieran Maguire. Someone else said we break even on it, and I'm like, even if that's not true, if that's near true, amazing. And it's the same. Like I think Casemiro will go. Eriksen's going to leave. That's been clear. That guy's on 100k a week. Christian Eriksen is on 100k a week.
Lindelof is going to go at the end of the season.
And he's on 80 or 90, I think. And like Dorgu's on 40. It's nuts. Like
Xerxes on 60. Yeah.
None of the players we've brought in, I don't think, are over 100k. I think Euro might be teetering on it, but none of them are over 100k. All of the big earners are who INEOS have been left with. The ones that they've brought in, and I'm sorry, Xerxes is a good player. In the right system, he can work. We've only paid 12 million of the fee so far. Euro, Real Madrid wanted him. If we let him go, it would have been a Varane situation. He's a very talented player. Delict, 42 million quid, 2 Champions League winner, a winner, a fighter. Love him. We wanted him with Ten Hag. I really like him. Mazraoui, 12.7 million, can play in any position. Dorgu, suits the manager's system. You got it for 20 odd million quid. Ugarte, we want a battler in midfield. We got a 24-year-old one who was topping the interceptions and turnover charts in Europe for the last 2 seasons at Sporting, where Amorim's from. So yes, there is a lot of work to be done, but the bones are being laid. It's just all this mess, all this nonsense. Just breathe. It's bad.
That's what we need to do. Need to be a bit calm because I mean, I'm trying to stay away from social media because I've seen I watch a lot of content and I've seen a lot of people turning against Amorim and already 4 months into it, you know. To be honest with you, have you heard about Greenwood? Greenwood, we would receive about 37.5 million for Greenwood if he goes to Barcelona or PSG as well. I mean, that's another one. Added to Sancho, this is the money from Sancho as well. I mean, we might be all right this summer. Who knows? And we will obviously have more leeway in regards to finances and stuff in buying players, etc.
We'll be absolutely fine.
Exciting. It's going to be exciting, and especially look. I mean, we watched the game. We saw it with Erik Ten Hag. We saw things. We studied the game, and I see things with Ruben Amorim as well. I think he's making mistakes. I do believe that. He needs to be braver. He needs to. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to take risks. You have to take risks sometimes. You can tell against Tottenham that we weren't going to win the game. We weren't going to score for a million Sundays. We weren't going to score, and just change it. Just change it and see what happens. Throw them on. Alex Ferguson used to do it. Champions League final, 1999, he did it. You know what I mean? He threw Sheringham and Solskjaer on. They got us some goals. And that's what you have to do sometimes. But you know what boils down to it? All this negativity, all this sinister rumors, etc. It all boils down to losing. And when we start winning again, no one's going to talk about any of this. Because I've been a United fan nearly 40 years. And, no one spoke about Peter Kenyon. And no one ever, no one wanted to know anything about the business side of football. We just wanted to know what's going on the pitch. We're winning the next game. We didn't really care what sinister things were going on behind the scenes. We didn't care that Teddy Sheringham and Andy Cole didn't like each other. We didn't care about that. We just cared about what happens on the pitch. The only thing would get leaked was David Beckham boot in the face and things like that. You know what I mean? Which is quite obvious. It's quite extreme, but that is the only thing that used to get leaked. Nothing else used to get leaked, and that is due to an environment, success, winning. And no one would go near Alex Ferguson. And it's going to take time for us to build that again.
And the Spurs game as well. Like, if Garnacho scores an easy chance in 10 minutes, the game changes. Like, I thought it's like, and that type of game, I didn't get angry about Spurs because I thought everyone have talked all season about Spurs having an injury crisis, which absolutely they have. But it's like when we have 4 injuries in that time, it's like, what's the point? And I saw what someone just said there about, so we could have had a full sale. I love that someone's pointed that out. So the Glazers, I just want to say about anyone who thinks this as well. The Glazers are in one of the most privileged positions that you can ever be in football. You're profiting from a club without having to do anything. Imagine you're at work or you're in a job and you get paid for doing nothing. That's what the Glazers are doing. And they're in that situation. And when they it's brilliant. When they put out, or Man United put out, that they were ready for something. They were seeking alternative investment. They weren't seeking a full sale. We all jumped on it and thought, maybe, if someone comes in, they could opt for a full sale. We had this Qatari guy come in who he has one AI picture in his whole existence, apparently, doesn't show proof of funds and all this, and it doesn't happen. And I'm a bit of a cynic. I'm like, if you have that much money, just pay it up because you'll probably make it back in a few years, but you'll be known as the guy who did it. You might have to go into a little bit of your pocket change, but it's nothing for you. it's a lot for us. It's nothing for you. You could have done it. You didn't. And with the Glazers, they're in the position where they wanted, no matter what anyone tells me, I don't care what you say, Glazers did not want to fully sell. I think one of them did. I think Avram might have. Joel didn't want to, and the sisters didn't want to. I remember they didn't want it. So they are now in control of a situation where they can bring in alternative investment and pocket from that alternative investment. And then everyone basically jumps on the people who have invested. Like, if you're going in on INEOS saying they're the same, look at how much INEOS have invested. It's already more than the Glazers. Don't even tell me the number. It's more. And you jumping on them gives the Glazers a free pass again, because it was always Murtagh. It was always Arnold. It was always Woodward. Who employs these people? It was the Glazers who did it. They're bankers. They worked for them before they came in. He brought him in twice. Ed Woodward had 2 different stints at Manchester United. It's just stupid. So this whole thing about I could talk about the Glazers forever just until it gets into people's heads. But INEOS aren't the problem. They're the solution. And they didn't make the right choice in terms of backing Ten Hag. But hindsight's 2020. I think we could all see the reason why they did it at the time, because we don't even know what Amorim said back then. Amorim might have just said absolutely not, or all the other options said absolutely not. And Dan Ashworth, who they've sacked, wanted Southgate. So what do you want? People just need to be quiet on that sort of stuff. If you're lumping the two in the same bag, you're giving the Glazers too much credit, way too much credit.
As I said, like, nothing's going to be perfect. And to be honest with you, INEOS have done some good things. Getting Ruben Amorim as quickly as they did was very good, because that's something that we haven't done in the past under Murtagh and Woodward. We would have waited long and waited till he goes to Real Madrid or something like that. And that was very good. The window was very good, when you just dig into it and you dig a little bit deeper and you look at the financial problems at Man United, we're talking about the existence of the football club here. Mm-hmm. If we do this wrong, we can go out of business, guys. We'll get a 20-odd point deduction from the Premier League, go into administration, etc. So, you know what? It is what it is. We all wanted a full sale. I wanted a full sale. I want the Glazers out. The most important thing, I didn't care is Apple, Amazon, or INEOS. I wanted a full sale. As Dev rightly said, they were clinging on. They were playing a game with INEOS, and they wanted to get more and more money out of INEOS. INEOS wanted, I think it was 50, the majority first, didn't they? They wanted the majority, 51% or something like along those lines. And then obviously they kept getting pegged back. But we have INEOS, and the most important thing to do now as Man United fans is just to hope that it works, and hopefully one day they get to buy the club fully and they own the club. And we will end up in a much better position.
Yeah, and on that point, they've been hoovering up shares since they came in, like either Brailsford or INEOS or whoever, and their stake is already significantly higher than what it was at the beginning of 14 months ago. So I think and Jean-Claude Blanc, who was one of the execs at PSG, he's on the board. He's not the director's board. He's on the board with the Glazers. So they all they're not stupid. They know what they're doing, and I think it's only a matter of time before they go. They will go eventually. Will they go? And this is the best. This is the best thing I've ever seen. Someone asked me the other day. It was on a TikTok live, I think, but they asked me, "Oh, Dev, seriously now? seriously, would you be okay if Man United got relegated if it meant the Glazers sold up?" Now, to be very clear to everyone, Man United get relegated. Like right now, Kieran Maguire has said, and I trust him and a few others. He's one of my favorite voices on finances. He said, "We will never go bust as long as we're in the Premier League. Not being in the Champions League will affect us. We'll never go bust because if we sell well in the summer, it offsets all of that. So we'll be okay because they're different books, like I said earlier. But if we let's just say if we get relegated, none of our players, I'm hazarding a guess that none of them have relegation clauses in their contract. So you want the money trickled down from the Premier League, because PSR also affects the Championship, by the way. So you want us to now be recouped in about 200% or 300% worse off a position than we are now purely financially, with these players on the books who are now considered Championship players who will sell for a lot less money. And you want us to take a pittance of the money that we're getting from the Premier League, no matter where you finish. I think it's between 17th and 12th. It's about the same amount of money. As soon as you get into the top half, it's more because you got Europe. But that will kill us. As in, we will then. That's a Portsmouth situation. Administration, death.
Leeds United,
United and going back up. Leeds United, that would Rangers. That would be us. So If you really want that to happen, give your head a wobble, because that would kill us.
No,
But
you don't want relegation, trust me. And being
It's not
raised in
going
Leighton in East London, I know Leighton Orient
there you go.
very well. I'm close to the club, and they've been put into administration many times. They've sold the club for a fiver, things like that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's crazy when you think about you want relegation. We need relegation. We don't need relegation, guys. I mean, Man United will go bust. Just think that we'll be in big trouble. I know we'll sell out the stadiums and stuff like that. We'll still sell the season tickets and the merchandise, and we will survive from that. But do you know what? I don't think we should be wishing bad on our own football club. At the end of the day, we will be okay next season. I'm putting my head on the block here. We'll be okay next season, and Ruben Amorim we trust. And that's what I would say in regards to that. Dev, thank you so much for joining me, brother. Really appreciate that. Very insightful interview as usual. Again, guys, don't forget to follow Dev all over social media, TikTok, everywhere. He's a superstar, mate. He's on TikTok everywhere, mate. Absolutely smashing it. Don't forget to give him a follow. Where can we find you, Dev?
Yeah, TikTok, X, YouTube a little bit when I can be bothered to do something on YouTube, and then Instagram. So at Dev's Football Club on all of them.
Absolutely. All right, mate. Thanks a lot, mate. I'll see you next time. Hopefully, Dev will join us again pretty soon. Thank you, guys, for joining me. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and smash a like on the video, guys. And I'll be back tomorrow early in the morning, 7 a.m. UK time for Breaking Dawn. Take it easy, guys. Peace.